Welcome to our podcast, Noise to Music, where we take the noise in your life and make it into beautiful, wonderful music. I'm your host, Chaim Levy. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the difference between resilience and resistance. What does it mean if you live a life of resilience or if you live a life of resistance? It's going to be based off Orchot Tzadikim in its Gate for Joy, Sha'ar HaSimcha, where he talks about a very interesting point. And he discusses the fact that hasimcha, joy in life, having joy and happiness, ba'al adam mechamat rov shalva belibo, comes to a person when he has tranquility in his heart. Bli pegara. Now, what's interesting to know is that he finds the source of joy in the heart. The essence of joy comes from the heart. So we need to discuss that a little bit. Why does joy come from the heart? Why not from the mind? The answer is because the mind's job in our life is to constantly look ahead. It's to constantly anticipate and shield us from potential harm. Always calculating the worst case scenario. And what can we do? So really, there's a lot of stress and weight on the mind, because let's just say a person is scared of loneliness, right? So the mind's job is to calculate every minute of the day, every day of the week, every week of the month, every month of the year, and see, hey, how do I build a life where I will never be lonely? It's a lot of weight. So we're not placing the responsibility of joy on the mind, okay? We're placing the responsibility of joy on the heart. Now, how does the heart actually attain happiness? The heart attains happiness, number one, is when it lives in the present. What does that mean, lives in the present? There are three ways, essentially. There are a few ways that a person can live their life. If we were to resemble it to a line, so if it was a zigzag line, right, you don't want to live that form of a zigzag line where you have super highs and super lows. That's a very toxic life. Or if you take a line and you obviously, you draw it down the chalkboard, then it's the same thing. That's not a life you want to lead, because that's a life of depression. A line that's straight, okay, that's someone's dead. They're not experiencing any emotion, not happy, not sad. A line that's up is not realistic. So what is the format, if we had to draw our life as a line and emotional tranquility, what is the format we want? So the point is, we want a life where the line is going up, and every so often it experiences these bumps. It's going up and it experiences a bump. It's going up and it experiences a bump. But how do you make sure that those bumps are not too deep? So that's where this idea that we're talking about, resilience versus resistance, comes from. When we live a life of resilience, which we'll explain soon and we'll talk about the difference, then our trajectory is moving up and we experience the normalities of life. We experience the challenges, things that might not happen that we want in accordance with the way we planned it. But the wave, the energy, the vibe is always moving up, and it picks us up and helps us move forward. What we need to discuss is how do we construct that life where we have positive momentum that's moving forward, that's moving up, and the normal challenges of life happen, but they don't pull us down to an extent where they're destructive, where you're 3 days out, you're a week out, you're kind of out of the zone. How do you build that? So that's where the solution lies in understanding resilience versus resistance. When do you resist something? Let me ask you a question. When does a person actually resist something? It happens when you perceive a mistake or something unfavorable. For example, resisting arrest. Someone resists arrest. You resist arrest because you feel, hey, this shouldn't be happening to me. You got the wrong guy, and so on. When you resist life, essentially what that means is you're approaching life in a fashion of, hey, God, you made an error. You made a mistake. You're living a life of constant resistance. Strife, rigid, tension, it weighs you down. You have a desire to escape. Why do you have a desire to escape? Because if you're in a situation where there's a mistake being made and something else has to happen, and God made a mistake, you don't want to be there. So resistance, living a life of resistance where you're in opposition to something, is a very tiring and anxious position to be. And also brings out the point that essentially we feel that, the bigger orchestration of life is a mistake. What do we need? We need to live a life of resilience. What is resilience, essentially? It's acknowledging a reality. You can't lie to yourself. And that's really key. You have to be real with what's going on. If you're going through a challenge, accept the challenge. Admit the challenge. See the challenge. However, you reframe the situation positively. You recognize the guiding hand of God, okay? Now, why is resistance important? Because you need to process and overcome hardship. Those people that lack resilience, they get easily overwhelmed and they turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms. Resilient people tap into their strengths and support systems to overcome challenges and work through their problems. Resilience also gives you stability and a flow in life. If you have this aspect of resilience, then your life is constant, day after day, week after week. Whether it's a good day or a bad day, a good week or a bad week, you're flowing, you're moving up, you have those dips, but you keep going. That's why resilience is so important. Now, in addition, resilience, when a person lives a resilient life, where they accept that what's going on with them is right, but we need to figure out how to work it, we reframe it, then that is effectively the expression of emunah bitachon. That's when you express to God, hey, this is a challenging situation, but I understand it's for my best, and therefore I'm going to move forward in a positive way. The biggest expression of your belief in God. Now, what is resilience? If we had to kind of present it into a dictionary type of thing, it's acknowledging reality and reframing a situation positively, okay? You acknowledge the reality of what's going on, but you reframe it, that this is something that my character can get me through. Who is the epitome of resilience in the Torah? Yosef HaTzadik. In the Bible, Yosef HaTzadik, despite his betrayal by his own brothers threw him into a pit. His own brothers sold him to Arab wanderers down to Egypt. Even as such, Yosef had the resilience. Now, how did it happen? Divine intervention turned a potential disaster into an opportunity. How did it happen? God did a miracle for Yosef. What was the miracle? The miracle was when Yosef was sold to the Arab wanderers. Generally speaking, the Arab wanderers sell smelly leather, and God did a miracle that they sold spices. So, the question is, who cares if they sell spices? Yosef HaTzadik being kidnapped. What's the validity of the fact that the people who kidnapped you sold spices and they smell good? Because that miracle is the essence of resilience. Resilience means you have to go through the situation, but God's telling you, hey, I'm with you. This will turn out for the best. You need to hold on. You need to reframe it. You need to see it in a positive situation, even though you don't have the answer to everything. Yosef HaTzadik, Joseph, went down to Egypt. He was sold into slavery for many, many years. It was many years before he saw the salvation, but he was able to hold on in a positive way. He wasn't resistant to the situation. He didn't fight it like fighting arrest, and God, so to speak, made a mistake. That's the epitome of resilience. Now, resilience empowers the individual to accept, to adapt, and to move forward. It represents the strongest expression of belief in God. When faced with challenges, resilience allows us to reframe them positively, because you go through what you need to go through. What's supposed to happen happens. However, how do you translate it? But the big question in this, the major question is how do you develop resilience? Okay, how do you develop? It's nice and fancy talk. So Orchot Tzadikim guides us that the essence of resilience is in the heart. Do you see life? And this is the question I want you to pause and ask yourself this question. Do you see life as an obstacle, or do you see life as an opportunity? Is your daily life, is every day an obstacle that you need to get through, or is every day an opportunity that you're embracing? Sometimes I ask students, hey, how's it going? Everyone says, people say, oh, can't complain. Oh, so you live a can't complain life. Imagine I was asking you about your wedding. How was your wedding? I heard, how was your wedding? And you say, can't complain. Is that how you approach your life? It's a can't complain life? You're resisting it. It's okay, it could be better. Or you're resilient. You see that life is an opportunity. Is your life an obstacle or an opportunity? Those are two different ways of how your brain digests it. If your life is an obstacle, no one wants to be in an obstacle. You go out on a first date, you realize in the first moment, hey, this is not the guy, this is not the girl, this is terrible. All you want to do is get out. You just want to leave. You don't want to have anything to do with it, right? So that's an obstacle. That's when people lose patience, feel overwhelmed, they want to just run away. When life is an opportunity, when your entire life from the morning till the night, day after day, week after week, is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for greatness. It's an opportunity to make money. It's an opportunity to succeed, to make an impact, to live a joyful life. Then what happens? Your mind loves opportunity. It embraces the moment. You have the strength. You have the resilience to be able to be productive. Just as Yosef faced obstacles as opportunities, so can we. Reframing our thought process is crucial. The reality doesn't change. How do you translate it? How do you deal with it? How do you see it? Aligning our perspectives with life's inherent opportunities. Wake up in the morning. From the moment you start your day, from Modeh Ani, from the second you put your feet on the ground, life is an opportunity. Opportunities we welcome. The reality doesn't change, but I have the strength of character to be able to deal with it. Now, furthermore, we'll relate this to a biblical perspective. We see that Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, he opposed God in two places. In the incident of the golden calf, he opposed God, and by the water, he opposed God. One he got credit for, and one he got in trouble for. When it came to the golden calf, the Jewish people had just received the Torah, they received the Bible, the Ten Commandments, and God says to Moshe Rabbeinu, hey, guess what? Your people are sinning, they've created the golden calf, move from me, Hani Chali, and I'm going to destroy them. I'm going to totally destroy them. Moses says, no, absolutely not. This is not acceptable. If you're going to even do that, pull me out of your book. Moshe Rabbeinu opposes God. And by the rock, the Jewish people are screaming for water, right? And Moshe Rabbeinu ends up saying, and God says, we'll talk to the rock. Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, hits the rock. One he gets credit, and one he gets in trouble for. Why is that? In the first case of Hani Chali, of the golden calf, God tells Moshe Rabbeinu, hey, move out of my way, I want to destroy the Jewish people. Moshe Rabbeinu says, what do you mean, move out of your way? I'm not bothering you, I'm not staying in your way. It's like a jet fighter plane being on the runway and you're there with a scooter. Get out of my way. I'm not stopping you. Moshe Rabbeinu had the resilience. He reframed the situation. He said, hey, this is God's people, this is his children, even with all the mess going on, and even though this is idol worship, I'm going to fight for the cause of the Jewish people. And he approached it, and he, so to speak, opposed God. And God said, okay, Salachti kidvarecha, I have forgiven as you have said. By the hitting of the rock, people were screaming and so on, and there was other points. Rav Hirsch explained this on a deeper level. Moshe Rabbeinu kind of lost his cool, and he hit the rock. He opposed God, and he got in trouble. The point we're trying to say is resilience versus resistance. You resist the situation, you feel that it's wrong, you don't dig deep enough into your character and handle it correctly, you ended up making a mistake. Resilience. You reframe the situation, you see it in a positive light, you see life as a constant opportunity, even in a situation where God has, so to speak, his way of dealing with it. Because really when God said, Hani Chali, move from me, God was hinting, as Rashi says, God was hinting to Moshe Rabbeinu, hey, you can stop this whole calamity. You can stand in the way. I'm giving you an opportunity. But Moshe Rabbeinu had the tranquility. He had the peace of mind to be able to stand up to it. And that's our goal today. When we're talking about resilience versus resistance, we don't want to live a life of resistance. We're resisting reality. We're anxious. We're angry. We're upset. We're trying to fight everything. We want to live a life of resilience. When situations come our way, we have the peace of mind to be able to reframe it and see it an opportunity. That's your homework for today. This is Chaim Levy on our podcast, Noise to Music. Thanks for joining me. Hear you next time.